On the power of speaking. Every man will read a book with more pleasure, or even with more ease, if it is written in fairer characters. Therefore every man will also listen more readily to what is spoken, if it is signified by appropriate and becoming words. We must not say then that there is no faculty of expression, for this affirmation is the characteristic of an impious and also of a timid man, of an impious man, because he undervalues the gifts which come from God, just as if he would take away the commodity of the power of vision or hearing or of seeing. Has then good God given you eyes to no purpose? And to no purpose has he infused into them a spirit so strong and of skillful contrivance as to reach a long way and to fashion the forms of things which are seen? What messenger so swift and vigilant? And to no purpose has he made the interjacent atmosphere so efficacious and elastic that the vision penetrates through the atmosphere, which is in a manner moved. And to no purpose has he made light, without the presence of which there would be no use of any other thing. Man, be neither ungrateful for these gifts, nor yet forget the things which are superior to them. But indeed, for the power of seeing and hearing, and indeed for life itself, and for the things which contribute to support it, for the fruits which are dry, and for wine and oil give thanks to God. But remember that he has given you something else better than all these, I mean the power of using them, proving them, and estimating the value of each. For what is it that which gives information about each of these powers, what each of them is worth? Is it each faculty itself? Did you ever hear the faculty of vision saying anything about itself, or the faculty of hearing, or wheat, or barley, or horse, or dog? No, but they are appointed as ministers and slaves to serve the faculty which has the power of making use of the appearances of things. And if you inquire what is the value of each thing, of whom do you inquire? Who answers you? How then can any other faculty be more powerful than this, which uses the rest as ministers, and itself proves each and pronounces about them? For which of them knows what itself is, and what is its own value? Which of them knows when it ought to employ itself and when not? What faculty is it which opens and closes the eyes, and turns them away from objects to which it ought not to apply them, and does apply them to other objects? Is it the faculty of vision? No, but it is the faculty of the will. What is that faculty which closes and opens the ears? What is it that by which they are curious and inquisitive, or on the contrary, unmoved by what is said? Is it the faculty of hearing? It is no other than the faculty of the will. Will this faculty then, seeing that it is amidst all the other faculties which are blind and dumb and unable to see anything else except the very acts for which they are appointed, in order to minister to this faculty and serve it? But this faculty alone sees sharp and sees what is the value of each of the rest. Will this faculty declare to us anything else is the best, or that itself is? What else does the eye do when it is opened than see? But whether we ought to look on the wife of a certain person, and in what manner, who tells us? The faculty of the will. And whether we ought to believe what is said or not believe it, and if we do believe, whether we ought to be moved by it or not, who tells us? It is not the faculty of the will? But if you ask me what then is the most excellent of all things, what must I say? I cannot say the power of speaking, but the power of the will, when it is right. For it is this which uses the other, and all the other faculties, both small and great. For when this faculty of the will is set right, a man who is not good becomes good, but when it fails, a man becomes bad. It is through this that we are unfortunate, that we are fortunate, that we blame one another, are pleased with one another. In a word, is this which, if we neglect it, makes us unhappiness; if we carefully look after it, makes happiness. What then is usually done? Men generally act as a traveler would do on his way to his own country, when he enters a good inn, and being pleased with it, should remain there. Man, you have forgotten your purpose. You were not traveling to this inn, but you were passing through it. But this is a pleasant inn, and how many other inns are pleasant? How many meadows are pleasant? Yet only for passing through. But your purpose is this, to return to your country, to relieve your kinsmen of anxiety, to discharge the duties of a citizen, to marry, to beget children, to fill the usual magistracies. For you are not come to select more pleasant places, but to live in these where you were born, and of which you were made a citizen. Something of the kind takes place in the matter which we are considering. Since by the aid of speech and such communication as you receive here, you must advance to perfection, and purge your will and correct the faculty which makes use of the appearance of things, and since it is necessary also for the teaching of theorems to be effected by a certain mode of expression, and with a certain variety and sharpness, some persons captivated by these very things abide in them, one captivated by the expression, another by syllogisms, another again by sophisms, and still another by some other end of the kind. There they stay, then waste away as they were among sirens. Man, your purpose was to make yourself capable of using conformably to nature the appearances presented to you, and your desires not to be frustrated, and your aversion from things not to fall into that which you would avoid, never to have no luck, nor even to have bad luck, to be free, not hindered, not compelled, conforming yourself to the administration of Zeus, obeying it, well satisfied with this, blaming no one, charging no one with fault, able from your whole soul to utter these verses. Lead me, O Zeus, and thou to destiny. To a person who was one of those who were not valued by him. A certain person said to him frequently, I desired to hear you and came to you, and you never gave me any answer. Now, if it is possible, I entreat you to say something to me. Do you think, said Epictetus, that as there is an art in anything else, so there is also an art in speaking? That he who has the art will speak skillfully, and he who has not will speak unskillfully? I do think so. He then who by speaking receives benefit himself, and is able to benefit others, will speak skillfully. But he who is rather damaged by speaking, and does damage to others, will he be unskilled in this art of speaking? And you may find that some are damaged and others benefited by speaking. And are all who hear but benefited by what they hear? Or will you find that among them also some are benefited and some damaged? There are both among these also, he said. In this case also then those who hear skillfully are benefited, and those who hear unskillfully are damaged. He admitted this. Is there then a skill in hearing also, as there is in speaking? It seems so. If you choose, consider the matter in this way also. The practice of music, to whom does it belong? To a musician. And the proper making of a statue, to whom do you think that belongs? To a statuary. And the looking at a statue skillfully, does this appear to you require the aid of no art? This also requires the aid of art. That if speaking properly is the business of the skillful men, do you see that to hear also with benefit is the business of the skillful men? Now, as to speaking and hearing perfectly and usefully, let us for the present, if you please, say no more, for both of us are a long way from everything of the kind. But I think that every man will allow this, that he who is going to hear philosophers requires some amount of practice in hearing. Is it not so? Why then do you say nothing to me? I can only say this to you, that he who knows not who he is, and for what purpose he exists, and what is this world, and with whom he is associated, and what things are the good and the bad, and the beautiful and the ugly, and who neither understands discourse nor demonstration, nor what is true nor what is false, and who is not able to distinguish them, neither desire according to nature, nor turn away, nor move towards, nor intend, nor assent, nor dissent, nor suspend his judgment. To say all in a few words, he will go about dumb and blind, thinking that he is somebody, but being nobody. Is this so now for the first time? Is it not the fact that ever since the human race existed, all errors and misfortune have arisen through this ignorance? This is all that I have to say to you, and I say even this not willingly. Why? Because you have not roused me. For what must I look in order to be roused? As men who are expert in riding are roused by generous horses? Must I look to your body? You treat it disgracefully. To your dress, that is luxurious. To your behavior, to your look, that is the same as nothing. When you listen to a philosopher, do not say to him, you tell me nothing, but only show yourself worthy of hearing or fit to the hearing, and you will see how you'll move the speaker. That logic is necessary. One of those who were present said, persuade me that logic is necessary. He replied, do you wish me to prove this to you? The answer was yes. Then I must use a demonstrative form of speech. This was granted. How then will you know if I am cheating you by my argument? The man was silent. Do you see, said Epictetus, that you yourself are admitting that logic is necessary, if without it you cannot know so much as this, whether logic is necessary or not necessary. Of finery and dress. A certain young man, a rhetorician, came to see Epictetus, with his hair dressed more carefully than was usual, and his attire in ornamental style. Whereupon Epictetus said, tell me if you do not think that some dogs are beautiful and some horses, and so of all other animals. I do think so, the youth replied. Are not then some men also beautiful and others ugly? Certainly. Do we then for the same reason call each of them in the same kind beautiful, or each beautiful for something peculiar? And you will judge of this matter thus. Since we see a dog naturally formed for one thing, and a horse for another, and for another still, as an example, a nightingale, we may generally and not improperly declare each of them to be beautiful, than what is most excellent, according to its nature. But since the nature of each is different, each of them seems to me to be beautiful in a different way. Is it not so? He admitted that it was. That one which makes a dog beautiful makes a horse ugly, and that which makes a horse beautiful makes a dog ugly. If it is true that their natures are different, it seems to be so. For I think that what makes a pancratius beautiful makes a wrestler to be not good, and a runner to be most ridiculous, and he who is beautiful for the pentathlon is very ugly for wrestling. It is so, said he. What then makes a man beautiful? Is it that which in its kind makes both a dog and a horse beautiful? It is, he said. What then makes a dog beautiful? The possession of the excellence of a dog. What makes a horse beautiful? The possession of the excellence of a horse. What then makes a man beautiful? Is it not the possession of the excellence of a man? And do you then, if you wish to be beautiful, young man, labor at this, the acquisition of human excellence? But what is this? Observe whom you yourself praise, whom you praise. When you praise many persons without partiality, do you praise the just or the unjust? The just. Whether do you praise the moderate or the immoderate? The moderate. And the temperate or the intemperate? The temperate. If then you make yourself such a person, you know that you will make yourself beautiful, but so long as you neglect things, you must be ugly, even though you contrive all you can to appear beautiful. In what a man ought to be exercised who has made proficiency, and that we neglect the chief things. There are 3 things in which a man ought to exercise himself, who would be wise and good. The first concerns the desires and the aversions, that a man may not fail to get what he desires, and that may not fall into that which he does not desire. The second concerns the movements toward an object and the movements from an object, and generally doing what a man ought to do, that he may act according to order, to reason, and not carelessly. The third thing concerns freedom from deception and rashness in judgment, and generally concerns the assents. Of these topics, the chief and the most urgent is that which relates to the effects. For an affect is produced no other way than by failing to obtain that which a man desires, or falling into that which a man would wish to avoid. This is that which brings in perturbations, disorders, bad fortune, misfortunes, sorrows, lamentations, and envy, that which makes men envious and jealous, and by these causes we are unable even to listen to the precepts of reason. The second topic concerns the duties of a man. For I ought not to be free from affects, like a statue, but I ought to maintain their relations, natural and acquired, as a pious man, as a son, as a father, as a citizen. The third topic is that which immediately concerns those who are making proficiency, that which concerns the security of the other 2, so that not even in sleep any appearance unexamined may surprise us, nor in intoxication, nor in melancholy. This, it may be said, is above our power. But the present philosophers, neglecting the first topic and the second, employed themselves on the third, using sophistical arguments, making conclusions from questioning, employing hypotheses, lying. For a man must, it is said, when employed on these matters, take care that he is not deceived. Who must? The wise and good man. This then is all that is wanting to you. Have you successfully worked out the rest? Are you free from deception in the matter of money? If you see a beautiful girl, do you resist the appearance? If your neighbor obtains an estate by will, are you not vexed? Now is there nothing else wanting to you except unchangeable firmness of mind? Wretch, you hear these very things with fear and anxiety that some person may despise you, and with inquiries about what any person may say about you. And if a man come and tell you that in a certain conversation in which the question was, who is the best philosopher? A man who was present said that a certain person was a chief philosopher. Your little soul, which is only a finger's length, stretches out to 2 cubits. But if another who is present says, you are mistaken, it is not worth while to listen to a certain person. For what does he know? He has only the first principles, and no more. Then you are confounded, you grow pale, you cry out, immediately, I will show him who I am, that I am a great philosopher. It is seen by these very things. Why do you wish to show it by others? Do you not know that Diogenes pointed out one of the sophists in this way, by stretching out his middle finger? Then when the man was wild with rage, this, he said, is the certain person. I have pointed him out to you. For man is not shown by the finger, as a stone or a piece of wood. But when any man shows the man's principles, then he shows him as a man. Let us look at your principles also. For is it not plain that you value not at all your own will, but you look externally to things which are independent of your will? For instance, what will a certain person say, and what will people think of you? Will you be considered a man of learning? Have you read Chrysippus or Antipater? For if you read Archimedes also, you have everything. Why are you still uneasy lest you should not show us who you are? Would you let me tell you what manner of man you have shown us that you are? You have exhibited yourself to us as a mean fellow, querulous, passionate, cowardly, finding fault with everything, blaming everybody, never quiet, vain. This is what you have exhibited to us. Go away now and read Archimedes. Then if a mouse should leap down and make a noise, you are a dead man. For such death awaits you as it did. What was the man's name? Crinus, and he was too proud, because he understood Archidemus. Wretch, will you not dismiss these things that do not concern you at all? These things are suitable to those who are able to learn them without perturbation, to those who can say, I am not subject to anger, to grief, to envy, I am not hindered, I am not restrained. What remains for me? I have leisure, I am tranquil. Let us see how we must deal with sophistical arguments. Let us see how when a man has accepted an hypothesis, he shall not be led away to anything absurd. To them such things belong. To those who are happy it is appropriate to light a fire, to dine, if they choose, both to sing and to dance. But when the vessel is sinking, Ye come to me and hoist the sails. What is the matter on which a good man should be employed, and in what we ought chiefly to practice ourselves? The material for the wise and good man is his own ruling faculty, and the body is the material for the physician and the Epictetus. The land is the matter for the husbandman. The business of the wise and good man is to use appearances conformably to nature, and as it is the nature of every soul to assent to the truth, to dissent from the false, and to remain in suspense as to that which is uncertain, so it is its nature to be moved towards the desire for the good, and to aversion from the evil. And with respect to that which is neither good nor bad, it feels indifferent. For as the money changer is not allowed to reject Caesar's coin, nor the seller of herbs, but if he show the coin, whether he chooses or not, he must give up what is sold for the coin. So it is also in the matter of the soul. When the good appears, it immediately attracts to itself. The evil repels from itself. But the soul will never reject the manifest appearances of the good, any more than persons will reject Caesar's coin. On this principle depends every movement of both man and God. What is the matter on which a good man should be employed, and in what we ought chiefly to practice ourselves? The material for the wise and good man is his own ruling faculty, and the body is the material for the physician and the Epictetus. The land is the matter for the husbandman. The business of the wise and the good man is to use appearances conformably to nature, and as it is the nature of every soul to assent to truth, to dissent from the false, and remain in suspense as to that which is uncertain, so it is its nature to be moved towards the desire for good and diversion from the evil, and with respect to that which is neither good nor bad, but it feels indifferent. For as the money changer is not allowed to reject Caesar's coin, nor the seller of herbs, but if he show the coin, whether he chooses or not, he must give up what is sold for the coin. So it is also in the matter of the soul. When the good appears, it immediately attracts to itself. The evil repels from itself. But the soul will never reject the manifest appearance of the good, any more than any persons will reject Caesar's coin. On this principle depends every movement, both of men and God. Against this kind of thing, chiefly a man should exercise himself. As soon as you go out in the morning, examine every man whom you see, every man whom you hear. Answer as to a question. What have you seen? A handsome man or woman? Apply the rule. Is this independent of the will, or dependent? Independent. Take it away. What have you seen? A man lamenting over the death of a child. Apply the rule. Death is a thing independent of the will. Take it away. Has the proconsul met you? Apply the rule. What kind of thing is a proconsul's office? Independent of the will, or dependent on it? Independent. Take this away also. It does not stand examination. Cast it away. It is nothing to you. If we practice this and exercise ourselves in it daily from morning to night, something indeed would be done. But now we are forthwith caught half asleep by every appearance, and it is only, if ever, that in the school we are aroused a little. Then when we go out, if we see a man lamenting, we say, he is undone. If we see a consul, we say, he is happy. If we see an exiled man, we say, he is miserable. If we see a poor man, we say, he is wretched. He has nothing to eat. We ought then to eradicate these bad opinions, and to this end we should direct all our efforts. For what is weeping and lamenting? Opinion. What is bad fortune? Opinion. What is civil sedition? What is divided opinion? What is blame? What is accusation? What is impiety? What is trifling? All these things are opinions and nothing more, and opinions about things independent of the will, as if they were good or bad. Let a man transfer these opinions to things dependent on the will, and I engage for him that he will be such firm and constant, whatever may be the state of things around him, such as is a dish of water, such as is the soul, such as is the ray of light which falls on the water. Such are the appearances. When the water is moved, the ray also seems to be moved, yet it is not moved. And when then a man is seized with giddiness, it is not the arts and the virtues which are confounded, but the spirit on which they are impressed. But if the spirit be restored to its settled state, those things also are restored. We ought then to eradicate these bad opinions, and to this end we should direct all our efforts. For what is weeping and lamenting? Opinion. What is bad fortune? Opinion. What is civil sedition? What is divided opinion? What is blame? What is accusation? What is impiety? What is trifling? All these things are opinions and nothing more, and opinions about things independent of the will, as if they were good and bad. Let a man transfer these opinions to things dependent on the will, and I will engage for him that he will be firm and constant, whatever may be the state of things around him. Such as is a dish of water, such as is the soul, such as is the ray of light which falls on the water, such are the appearances. When the water is moved, the ray also seems to be moved, yet it is not moved. When then a man is seized with giddiness, it is not the arts and the virtues which are confounded, but the spirit, on which they are impressed. But if the spirit be restored to its settled state, these things are also restored. Miscellaneous. When some person asked him how it had happened that since reason had been more cultivated by the men of the present age, the Progress made in former times was greater. In what respect, he answered, has it been more cultivated now? And in what respect was the progress greater then? For in that in which it has now been more cultivated, in that also the progress will now be found. At present it has been cultivated for the purpose of resolving syllogisms, and progress is made. But in former times it was cultivated for the purpose of maintaining the governing faculty in a condition conformable to nature, and progress was made. Do not then mix things which are different, and do not expect, when you are laboring at one thing, to make progress in another. But see if any man among us, when he is intent upon this, the keeping himself in a state conformable to nature, and living so always, does not make progress, for you will not find such a man. It is not easy to exhort weak young men, for neither is it easy to hold cheese with a hook. But those who have a good natural disposition, even if you try to turn them aside, cling still more to reason. To the administrator of the free cities, who was an Epicurean. When the administrator came to visit him, and the man who was an Epicurean, Epictetus said, "It is proper for us, who are not philosophers, to inquire of you who are philosophers, as those who come to a strange city inquire of the citizens, those who are acquainted with it. What is the best thing in the world, in order that we also, after inquiry, may go in quest of that which is best, and look at it, as strangers do with the things in cities. For that there are three things which relate to man, soul, body, and things external. Scarcely any man denies. It remains for you, philosophers, to answer what is the best. What shall we say to men? Is the flesh the best? And was it for this that Maximus sailed as far as Cassiope in the winter, with the sun, and accompanied him, that he might be gratified in the flesh?" When the man said that it was not, and added, "Far be it that from him." "Is it not fit, then," Epictetus said, "to be actively employed about the best?" "It is certainly of all things the most fit." "What then do we possess which is better than the flesh?" "The soul," he replied. "And the good worse of the best, are they better, or the good things of the worse?" "The good things of the best." "And are the good things of the best within the power of the will, or not within the power of the will?" "They are within the power of the will." "Is then the pleasure of the soul a thing within the power of the will?" "It is," he replied. "And on what shall this pleasure depend? On itself? But that cannot be conceived, for there must first exist a certain substance of nature, of good, by obtaining which we shall have pleasure in the soul." He assented to this also. "On what then shall we depend for this pleasure of the soul? For it shall depend on things of the soul, the substance of the good is discovered. For good cannot be one thing, and that at which we are rationally delighted in another thing. For if that which precedes is not good, can that which comes after be good? For in order that the thing which comes after may be good, that which precedes must be good. But you would not affirm this, if you are in your right mind, for you would then say what is inconsistent both with Epicurus and the rest of your doctrines. It remains that the pleasure of the soul is in the pleasure from the things of the body, and again that those bodily things must be the things which proceed in the substance of the good. Seek for doctrines which are consistent with what I say, and by making them your guide you will with pleasure abstain from things which have such persuasive power to lead us and overpower us. But if to the persuasive power of these things we also devise such a philosophy as this which helps to push us on towards them, and strengthens us to this end, what will be the consequence? In a piece of theoretic art, which is the best part, the silver or the workmanship? The substance of the hand is the flesh, but the work of the hand is the principal part. The duties then are also three: those which are directed towards the existence of a thing, those which are directed toward its existence in a particular kind, and third, the chief or leading things themselves. So also in man we ought not to value the material, the poor flesh, but the principle. What are these? Engaging in public business, marrying, begetting children, venerating God, taking care of parents, and generally having desires, aversions, pursuits of things, and avoidances, in the way in which we ought to do things, and according to our nature. And how are we constituted by nature? Free, noble, modest. For what other animal blushes? What other is capable of receiving the appearance of shame? And we are so constituted by nature as to subject pleasure to these things, as a minister, a servant, in order that it may call forth our activity, in order that it may keep us constant in acts which are conformable to nature. How we must exercise ourselves against appearances. As we exercise ourselves against sophistical questions, so we ought to exercise ourselves daily against appearances, for these appearances also propose questions to us. A certain person's son is dead. Answer: the thing is not within the power of the will. It is not an evil. A father has disinherited a certain son. What do you think of it? It is a thing beyond the power of the will, not an evil. Caesar has condemned a person. It is a thing beyond the power of the will, not an evil. A man is afflicted at this. Affliction is a thing which depends on the will. It is an evil. He has borne the condemnation bravely. That is a thing within the power of the will. It is a good. If we train ourselves in this manner, we shall make progress, for we shall never assent to anything of which there is not an appearance capable of being comprehended. Your son is dead. What has happened? Your son is dead. Nothing more. Nothing. Your ship is lost. What has happened? Your ship is lost. A man has been led to prison. What has happened? He has been led to prison. But that herein he has fared badly. Every man adds from his own opinion. But Zeus, you say, does not do right in these matters. Why? Why? Because he has made you capable of endurance? Because he has made you magnanimous? Because he has taken from that which befalls you the power of being evils? Because it is in your power to be happy while you are suffering what you suffer? Because he has opened the door to you when things do not please you? Man, go out and do not complain. Hear how the Romans feel towards philosophers, if you would like to know. Italicus, who was the most in the repute of the philosophers, once when I was present, being vexed with his own friends, and as if he was suffering something intolerable, said, I cannot bear it, you are killing me. You will make me such as that man is, pointing to me. To a certain rhetorician who is going up to Rome on a suit. When a certain person came to him who was going up to Rome on account of a suit which had regard to his rank, Epictetus inquired the reason of his going to Rome, and the man then asked what he thought about the matter. Epictetus replied, If you ask me what you will do in Rome, whether you will succeed or fail, I have no rule about this. But if you ask me how you will fare, I can tell you. If you have right opinions, you will fare well. If they are false, you will fare ill. For to every man the cause of his acting is opinion. For what is the reason why you desire to be elected governor of the Cnosians? Your opinion. What is the reason that you are now going up to Rome? Your opinion. And going in winter, and with danger and expense, I must go. What tells you this? Your opinion. Then if opinions are the causes of all actions, and a man has bad opinions, such as the cause may be, such also is the effect. Have we then all sound opinions, both you and your adversary? And how do you differ? But have you sounder opinions than your adversary? Why, you think so? And so does he think that his opinions are better, and so do madmen. This is a bad criterion, but show to me that you have made some inquiry into your opinions, and have taken some pains about them. And as now you are sailing to Rome in order to become governor of the Cnosians, and you are not content to stay at home with the honors which you had, but you desire a voyage to something greater and more conspicuous. So when did you ever make a voyage for the purpose of examining your own opinions and casting them out? If you have any that are bad, whom have you approached for this purpose? What time have you fixed for it? What age? Go over the times of your life by yourself. If you are ashamed of me, when you were a boy, did you examine your own opinions? And did you not then, as you do all things now, do as you did do? And when you were become a youth and attended the rhetoricians and yourself practiced rhetoric, what did you imagine that you were deficient in? And when you were a young man and engaged in public matters and pleaded causes yourself and were gaining reputation, who then seemed your equal? And when would you have submitted to any man examining and showing that your opinions are bad? What then do you wish me to say to you? Help me in this matter. I have no rule for this. Nor have you. If you came to me for this purpose, come to me as a philosopher, but as to a seller of vegetables or a shoemaker. For what purpose then have philosophers theorems? For this purpose, that whatever may happen, our ruling faculty may be and continue to be conformable to nature. Does this seem to you a small thing? No, but the greatest. What then? Does it need only a short time? And is it possible to seize it as you pass by? If you can, seize it. Then you will say, I met with Epictetus as I should meet with a stone or a statue, for you saw me and nothing more. But he meets with a man as a man who learns his opinions, and in his turn shows his own. Learn my opinions, show me yours, and then say that you have visited me. Let us examine one another. If I have any bad opinion, take it away. If you have any, show it. This is the meaning of meeting with a philosopher. Not so, but this is only a passing visit, and while we are hiring the vessel, we can also see Epictetus. Let us see what he says, then you go away and say Epictetus was nothing. He used solecisms and spoke in a barbarous way. For what else do you come as judges? Well, but a man may say to me, if I attend to such matters, I shall have no land as you have none. I shall have no silver cups as you have none, nor fine beasts as you have none. In answer to tens, it is perhaps sufficient to say, I have no need of such things. But if you possess many things, you have need of others. Whether you choose or not, you are poorer than I am. What then have I need of that which you have not? A firmness, of a mind which is conformable to nature, of being free from perturbation. In what manner we ought to bear sickness? When the need of each opinion comes, we ought to have it in readiness on the occasion of breakfast. Such opinions as relate to breakfast and the bath, those that concern the bath, and bed, those that concern bed. Let sleep not come upon thy languid eyes. Before each daily action thou hast scanned. What's done amiss, what done, what left undone, from first to last, examine all, and then blame what is wrong, and what is right rejoice. And we ought to retain these verses in such a way that we may use them, not that we may utter them aloud, as when we proclaim Pina Apollo. Again, in fever we should have ready such opinions as concern a fever, and we ought not, as soon as the fever begins, to lose and forget all. A man who has a fever may say, "If I philosophize any longer, may I be hanged. Wherever I go, I must take care of the poor body, that a fever may not come." But what is philosophizing? Is it not a preparation against some events which may happen? Do you not understand that you are saying something of this kind? If I shall still prepare myself to bear with patience what happens, may I be hanged. But this is just as if a man after receiving blows should give up the pancratium. In the pancratium it is in our power to resist and not to receive blows. But in the other matter, if we give up philosophy, what shall we gain? What then should a man say on the occasion of each painful thing? It was for this that I exercised myself, for this I discipline myself. God says to you, "Give me proof that you have duly practiced athletics, that you have eaten what you ought, that you have been exercised, that you have obeyed the Epictetus. Then do you show yourself weak when the time for action comes? Now is the time for the fever. Let it be borne well. Now is the time for thirst. Bear it well. Now is the time for hunger. Bear it well. Is it not in your power? Who shall hinder you? The physician will hinder you from drinking, but he cannot prevent you from bearing thirst well. And he will hinder you from eating, but he cannot prevent you from bearing hunger well. But I cannot attend to my philosophical studies. For what purpose do you follow them? Slave, is it not that you may be happy, that you may be constant? Is it not that you may be in a state conformable to nature, and live so? What hinders you when you have a fever from having your ruling faculty conformable to nature? Here is the proof of the thing. Here is the test of the philosopher. This also is a part of life, like walking, like sailing, like journeying by land. So also is fever. Do you read when you are walking? No, nor do you when you have a fever. But if you walk about well, you have all that belongs to a man who walks. If you bear a fever well, you have all that belongs to a man in a fever. What is it to bear a fever well? Not to blame God or man, not to be afflicted at that which happens, to expect death well and nobly, to do what must be done when the physician comes in, not to be frightened at what he says, nor if he says you are doing well to be overjoyed. For what good has he told you? And when you were in health, what good was that to you? And even if he says you are in a bad way, do not despond. For what is it to be ill? Is it that you are near the severance of the soul and body? What harm is there in this? If you are not near now, will you not afterwards be near? Is the world going to be turned upside down when you are dead? Why then do you flatter the physician? Why do you say, "If you please, master, I shall be well"? Why do you give him an opportunity of raising his eyebrows? Do you not value a physician as you do a shoemaker when he is measuring your foot, or a carpenter when he is building your house, and so treat the physician as to the body which is not yours, but by nature dead? He who has a fever has an opportunity of doing this. If he does these things, he has what belongs to him. For it is not the business of a philosopher to look after these externals, neither his wine nor his oil nor his poor body, but his own ruling power. But as to externals, how must he act? So far as not to be careless about them. Where then is there reason for fear? Where is there then still reason for anger, and of fear about what belongs to others, about things which are of no value? For we ought to have these two principles in readiness, that except the will nothing is good or bad, and we ought not to lead events, but to follow them. My brother ought not to have behaved thus to me. No, but he will see to that, and however he may behave, I will conduct myself towards him as I ought. For this is my own business, that belongs to another. No man can prevent this, the other thing can be hindered. About exercise. We ought not to make our exercises consistent. Consistent means contrary to nature and adapted to cause admiration. For if we do so, we who call ourselves philosophers shall not differ at all from jugglers. For it is difficult even to walk on a rope, and not only difficult, but it is also dangerous. Ought we for this reason to practice walking on a rope, or setting up a palm tree, or embracing statues? By no means. Everything which is difficult and dangerous is not suitable for practice. But that is suitable which conduces to the working out of that which is proposed to us. And what is that which is proposed to us as a thing to be worked out? To live with desire and aversion, free from restraint. And what is this? Neither to be disappointed in that which you desire, nor to fall into anything which you would avoid. Towards this object, then, exercise ought to tend. For since it is not possible to have your desire not disappointed, and your aversion free from falling into that which you would avoid, without great and constant practice, you must know that if you allow your desire and aversion to turn to things which are not within the power of the will, you will neither have your desire capable of attaining your object, nor your aversion free from the power of avoiding that which we avoid. And since strong habit leads, and we are accustomed to employ desire and aversion only to things which are not within the power of our will, we ought to oppose to this habit a contrary habit, and where there is great slipperiness in appearances, there to oppose the habit of exercise. Then at last, if occasion presents itself, for the purpose of trying yourself at a proper time, you will descend into the arena to know if appearances overpower you as they did formerly. But at first fly far from that which is stronger than yourself. The contest is unequal between a charming young girl and a beginner in philosophy. The earthen pitcher, as the saying is, and the rock do not agree. What solitude is, and what kind of person a solitary man is. Solitude is a certain condition of a helpless man, for because a man is alone, he is not for that reason also a solitary. Just as though a man is among numbers, he is not therefore not solitary. When then we have lost either a brother or son or a friend on whom we were accustomed to repose, we say that we are left solitary, though we are often in Rome, though such a crowd meet us, though so many live in the same place, and sometimes we have a great number of slaves. For the man who is solitary, as it is conceived, is considered to be a helpless person, and exposed to those who wish to harm him. For this reason, when we travel, then especially do we say that we are lonely when we fall among robbers. For it is not the sight of a human creature which removes us from solitude, but the sight of one who is faithful and modest and helpful to us. For if being alone is enough to make solitude, you may say that even Zeus is solitary in the conflagration and bewails himself, saying, "Unhappy that I am, who have neither Hera nor Athena nor Apollo nor brother, nor son, nor descendant nor kinsman." This is what some say that he does when he is alone at the conflagration. For they do not understand how a man passes his life when he is alone, because they set out from a certain natural principle, from the natural desire of community and mutual love, and from the pleasure of conversation among men. But nonetheless, a man ought to be prepared in a manner for this also, to be able to be sufficient for himself and to be his own companion. For Zeus dwells with himself, and is tranquil by himself, and thinks of his own administration and of its nature, and is employed in thoughts suitable to himself. So ought we also to be able to talk with ourselves, not to feel the want of others also, not to be unprovided with the means of passing our time, to observe the divine administration, and the relation of ourselves to everything else, to consider how we formerly were affected towards things that happened, and how at present what are still the things which give us pain, how these also can be cured and how removed, if any things require improvement, to improve them according to reason. Well then, if some man should come upon me when I am alone and murder me, fool, not murder you, but your poor body. What kind of solitude then remains? What want? Why do we make ourselves worse than children? And what do children do when they are left alone? They take up shells and ashes, they build something, and then pull it out down and build something else. So they never want the means of passing the time. Shall I then, if you sail away, sit down and weep, because I have been left alone and solitary? Shall I then have no shells, no ashes? But children, what they do through want of thought, and we through knowledge are unhappy. Every great power is dangerous to beginners. You must then bear such things as you are able, but conformably to nature, but not practice sometimes a way of living like a person out of health, that you may at some time live like a man in health. Certain miscellaneous matters. As bad tragic actors cannot sing alone, but in company with many, so some persons cannot walk about alone. Man, if you are anything, both walk alone and talk to yourself, and do not hide yourself in the chorus. Examine a little at last, look around, stir yourself up, so that you may know who you are. You must root out of men these two things, arrogance and distrust. Arrogance, then, is the opinion that you want nothing, but distrust is the opinion that you cannot be happy, when so many circumstances surround you. Arrogance is removed by confutation, and Socrates is the first who practiced this. And that the thing is not impossible, inquire and seek. The search will do you no harm, and in a manner this is philosophizing, to seek how it is possible to employ desire and aversion without impediment. I am superior to you, for my father is a man of consular rank. Another says, I have been a tribune, but you have not. If we were horses, would you say my father was swifter? I have much barley and fodder, or elegant neck ornaments. If then you were saying this, I said, be it so, let us run then. Well, is there nothing in a man such as running in a horse, by which will be known that which is superior and inferior? Is there not modesty, fidelity, justice? Show yourself superior in these, that you may be superior as a man. If you tell me that you can kick violently, I will say to you that you are proud of that which is in the act of an ass. That we ought to proceed with circumspection to everything. In every act, consider what precedes and what follows, and then proceed to the act. If you do not consider, you will first begin with spirit, since you have not thought at all of the things which follow, but afterwards, when some consequences have shown themselves, you will basically desist. I wish to conquer at the Olympic Games, but consider here what precedes and what follows, and then, if it is good for your good, undertake the thing. You must act according to rules, follow strict diet, abstain from delicacies, exercise yourself by compulsion at fixed times. In heat, in cold, drink no cold water, nor wine. When there is opportunity of drinking it, in a word, you must surrender yourself to the trainer, as you do to a physician. Next, in the contest, you must be covered with sand, sometimes dislocate a hand, sprain an ankle, swallow a quantity of dust. Be scourged with the whip, and after undergoing all this, you must sometimes be conquered. After reckoning all these things, if you have still an inclination, go to the athletic practice. If you do not reckon them, observe you will behave like children who at one time play as wrestlers, then as gladiators, then blow a trumpet, then act a tragedy, when they have seen and admired such things. So you also do. You are at one time a wrestler, then a gladiator, then a philosopher, then a rhetorician. But with your whole soul you are nothing. Like the ape, you imitate all that you see, and always one thing after another pleases you. But that which becomes familiar displeases you, for you have never undertaken anything after consideration, nor after having explored the whole matter, and put it to a strict examination. But you have undertaken it as a hazard, and with a cold desire. Thus some persons, having seen a philosopher and having heard one speak like Euphrates, and yet who can speak like him, wish to be philosophers themselves. Man, consider first what the matter is, then your own nature also, what it is able to bear. If you are a wrestler, look at your own shoulders, your thighs, your loins, for different men are naturally formed for different things. Do you think that if you do, you can be a philosopher? Do you think that you can eat as you do now, drink as you do now, and in a certain way be angry and out of humor? You must watch, labor, conquer certain desires. You must depart from your kinsmen, be despised by your slaves, laughed at by those who meet you. In everything you must be in an inferior condition, as to magisterial office, in honors, in course of justice. When you have considered all these things completely, then if you think proper approach to philosophy, if you would gain in exchange for these things freedom from perturbations, liberty, tranquility, if you have not considered these things, do not approach philosophy. Do not act like children, at one time a philosopher, then a tax collector, then a rhetorician, then a procurator of Caesar. These things are not consistent. You must be one man, either good or bad. You must either labor at your own ruling faculty or at external things. You must either labor at things which within or at external things. That is, you must either occupy the place of a philosopher or that one of the vulgar. A person said to Rufus when Galba was murdered, "Is the world now governed by Providence?" But Rufus replied, "Did I ever incidentally form an argument from Galba that the world is governed by Providence?" That we ought with caution to enter into familiar intercourse with men. If a man has frequent intercourse with others, either for talk or drinking together, or generally for social purposes, he must either become like them or change them to his own fashion. For if a man places a piece of quenched charcoal close to a piece that is burning, either the quenched charcoal will quench the other, or the burning charcoal will light at that which is quenched. Since then the danger is so great, we must cautiously enter into such intimacies with those of the common sort. And remember that it is impossible that a man can keep company with one whom is covered with soot, without being partaker of the soot himself. For what will you do if a man speaks about gladiators, about horses, about athletes? Or what is worse, about men? Such a person is bad, such a person is good. This was well done. This was done badly. Further, if he scoff or ridicule, or show an ill-natured disposition, is any man among us prepared like a lute player when he takes a lute, so that as soon as he touches the strings he discovers which are discordant, and tunes the instrument? Such a power Socrates had, who in all his social intercourse could lead his companions to his own purpose. How should you have this power? It is therefore a necessary consequence that you are carried about by the common kind of people. Why then, are they more powerful than you? Because they utter these useless words from their real opinions, but you utter your elegant words only from your lips. For this reason they are without strength indeed, and dead, and it is nauseous to listen to your exhortations and your miserable virtue, which is talked of everywhere. In this way the vulgar have the advantage over you, for every opinion is strong and invincible. Until then the good sentiments are fixed in you, and you shall have acquired a certain power for your security. I advise you to be careful in your association with common persons. If you are not every day like the wax in the sun, there will be melted away whatever you inscribe on your minds in the school. Withdraw then yourselves far from the sun, so long as you have these waxen sentiments. For this reason also philosophers advise men to leave their native country, because ancient habits distract them and do not allow beginning to be made of a different habit. Nor can we tolerate those who meet us and say, "See, such a one is now a philosopher, who was once so and so." Thus also physicians send those who have lingering diseases to a different country and a different air, and they do right. Do you also introduce other habits than those which you have? Fix you opinions and exercise yourselves in them. But you do not so. You go hence to a spectacle, to a show of gladiators, to a place of exercise, to a circus. Then you come back hither, and again from this place you go to those places, and still the same persons. There is no pleasing habit, nor attention, nor care about self and observation of this kind. How shall I use the appearances presented to me, according to nature or contrary to nature? How do I answer to them, as I ought or as I ought not? Do I say to those things which are independent of the will, that they do not concern me? For if you are not yet in the state, fly from your former habits, fly from the common sort, if you intend ever to begin to be something. On Providence. When you make any charge against Providence, consider, and you will learn that the thing has happened according to reason. Yes, but the unjust man has the advantage. In what? In money? Yes, for he is superior to you in this, that he flatters, is free from shame, and is watchful. What is the wonder? But see if he has the advantage over you in being faithful and being modest, for you will not find it to be so. But wherein you are superior, there you will find that you have the advantage. And I once said to a man who was vexed because Philostratus was fortunate, "Would you choose to lie with Sura? May it never happen," he replied, "that this day should come." Why then are you vexed if he receives something in return for that which he sells? Or how can you consider him happy who acquires those things by such means as you abominate? Or what wrong does Providence if he gives you the better things to the better men? Is it not better to be modest than to be rich? He admitted this. Why are you vexed then, man, when you possess the better thing? Remember then always and have in readiness the truth, that this is the law of nature, that the superior has an advantage over the inferior in that in which he is superior, and you'll never be vexed. But my wife treats me badly. Well, if any man asks you what this is, say, "My wife treats me badly." Is there then nothing more? Nothing. My father gives me nothing. But to say that this is an evil is something which must be added to it externally, and falsely added. For this reason we must not get rid of poverty, but of the opinion about poverty, then we shall be happy. About cynicism. When one of his pupils inquired of Epictetus, and he was a person who appeared to be inclined to cynicism, what kind of person a cynic ought to be, and what was the notion of the thing, "We will inquire," said Epictetus, "at leisure. But I have so much to say to you that he who without God attempts so great a matter is hateful to God, and has no other purpose than to act indecently in public." In the first place, in the things which relate to yourself, you must not be in any respect like what you do now. You must not blame God or man. You must take away desire altogether. You must transfer avoidance only to the things which are within the power of the will. You must not feel anger, nor resentment, nor envy, nor pity. A girl must not appear handsome to you, nor must you love a little reputation, nor be pleased with a boy or a cake. For you ought to know that the rest of men throw walls around them and houses and darkness when they do any such things, and they have many means of concealment. A man shuts the door, he sets somebody before the chamber. If a person comes, say that he is out, he is not at leisure. But the cynic insisted of all these things must use modesty as his protection. If he does not, he will be indecent in his nakedness and under the open sky. This is his house, his door. This is the slave before his bedchamber. This is his darkness. For he ought not to wish to hide anything that he does, and if he does, he is gone. He has lost the character of a cynic, of a man who lives under the open sky, of a free man. He has begun to fear some external thing. He has begun to have need of concealment, nor can he get concealment when he chooses. For where shall he hide himself, and how? And if by chance this public instructor shall be detected, this pedagogue, what kind of things will he be compelled to suffer? When then a man fears these things, is it possible for him to be bold with his soul to superintend men? It cannot be. It's impossible. In the first place, then, you must make your ruling faculty pure, and this mode of life also. Now, to me the matter to work on is my understanding, as wood is to the carpenter, as hides to the shoemaker, and my business is the right use of appearances. But the body is nothing to me, the parts of it are nothing to me. Death, let it come when it chooses, either death of the whole or of a part. Fly, you say, and whither? Can any man reject me out of this world? He cannot. But wherever I go, there is the sun, there is the moon, there are the stars, dreams, omens, and the conversation with gods. Then, if he is thus prepared, the true cynic cannot be satisfied with this. But he must know that he has sent a messenger from Zeus to men about good and bad things, to show them that they have wandered and are seeking the substance of good and evil, where it is not, but where it is they never think, and that he is a spy, as Diogenes was carried off to Philip, after the battle of Chaeronea as a spy. For in fact a cynic is a spy of the things which are good for men and which are evil, and it is his duty to examine carefully and to come and report truly, not to be struck with terror, so as to point out as enemies those who are not enemies, nor in any other way to be perturbed by appearances nor confounded. It is his duty then to be able to, with a loud voice, if the occasion should arise, and appearing on the tragic stage, to say like Socrates, "Men, whither you are hurrying, what are you doing, wretches? Like blind people you are wandering up and down. You are going by another road, and have left the true road. You seek for prosperity and happiness where they are not, and if another shows you where they are, you do not believe him. Why do you seek it without, in the body? It is not there. If you doubt, look at Myra, look at Ophelius. In possessions? It is not there. But if you do not believe me, look at Croesus, look at those who are no rich, with what lamentations their life is filled. In power? It is not there. If it is, those must be happy who have been twice and thrice consuls, but they are not. Whom shall we believe in these matters? You, who from without see their affairs and are dazzled by an appearance, or the men themselves, what do they say? Hear them when they groan, when they grieve, when on account of these various consulships and glory and splendor they think they are more wretched and in greater danger. Is it in royal power? It is not. If it were, Nero would have been happy, and Sardanapalus. But neither was Agamemnon happy, though he was a better man than Sardanapalus and Nero. But while there's nurse snoring, what is he doing? Much from his head he tore his rooted hair. Iliad. And what does he say himself? I am perplexed, he says, and disturbed I am. My heart out of bosom is leaping. Iliad. Wretch. Which of your affairs goes badly? Your possessions? No. Your body? No. But you are rich in gold and copper. What then is the matter with you? That part of you, whatever it is, has been neglected by you and is corrupted. The part with which we desire, with which we avoid, with which we move towards and move from things. How neglected? He knows not the nature of good, for which he is made by nature, and of the nature of evil, and what is his own, and what belongs to another. And when anything that belongs to others goes badly, he says, Woe to me, for the Hellenes are in danger. Wretched is his ruling faculty, and alone, neglected, and uncared for. The Hellenes are going to die destroyed by the Trojans, and if the Trojans do not kill them, will they not die? Yes, but not all at once. What difference then does it make? For if death is an evil, whether men die altogether, or if they die singly, it is equally an evil. Is anything else then going to happen than the separation of the soul and the body? Nothing. And if the Hellenes perish, is the door closed? And is it not in your power to die? It is. Why then do you lament? Oh, you are a king, and have the scepter of Zeus. An unhappy king does not exist more than an unhappy god. What then art thou? In truth a shepherd, for you weep as shepherds do, when a wolf has carried off one of their sheep, and these who are governed by you are sheep. And why did you come hither? Was your desire in any danger? Was your aversion? Was your movement? Was your avoidance of things? He replies, No. But the wife of my brother was carried off. Was it not then a great gain to be deprived of an adulterous wife? Shall we despise then by the Trojans? What kind of people are the Trojans, wise or foolish? If they are wise, why do you fight with them? If they're fools, why do you care about them? Do you possess the body then free, or is it in a servile condition? We do not know. Do you not know that it is a slave of fever or of gout, ophthalmia, dysentery of a tyrant, of fire, of iron, or gout, of everything, which is stronger? Yes, it is a slave. How then is it possible that anything which belongs to the body can be free from hindrance? And how is the thing great or valuable, which is naturally dead, or earth or mud? Well then, do you possess nothing which is free? Perhaps nothing. And who is able to compel you to assent to that which appears false? No man. And who can compel you to not to assent to which appears true? No man. By this then you see that there is something in you naturally free. But to desire or to be averse from, or to move towards an object, or to move from it, or to prepare yourself, or to propose to do anything, which of you can do this, unless he has received an impression from the appearance of that which is profitable or duty? No man. You have then in these things also something which is not hindered and is free. Wretched men, work out this, take care of this, seek for good here. That we ought not to be moved by desire of those things which are not in our power. Let not that which in another is contrary to nature to be an evil to you, for you are not formed by nature not to be depressed with others, nor to be unhappy with others, but to be happy with them. If a man is unhappy, remember that his unhappiness is his own fault. For God has made all men to be unhappy, to be free from perturbations. For this person he has given means to them, some things to each person as his own, and other things not as his own. Some things subject to hindrance and compulsion and deprivation, and these things are not a man's own. But the things which are not subject to hindrances are his own. And the nature of good and evil, as it was fit to be done by him who takes care of us and protects us like a father, he has made our own. But, you say, I have parted from a certain person and he is grieved. Why did he consider as his own that which belongs to another? Why, when he looked on you and was rejoiced, did he not also reckon that you are immortal, that it is natural for you to part from him for a foreign country? Therefore he suffers the consequences of his own folly. But why do you or for what purpose bewail yourself? Is it that you also have not thought of these things? But like poor women who are good for nothing, you've enjoyed all things in which you took pleasure, as if you would always enjoy them, both places and men in conversation. And now you sit and weep because you do not see the same persons and do not live in the same places. Indeed, you deserve this, to be more wretched than crows and ravens who have the power of flying where they please and changing their nests for others, and crossing the seas without lamenting or regretting their former condition. Yes, but this happens to them because they are rational creatures. Was reason then given to us by the gods for the purpose of unhappiness and misery, that we may pass our lives in wretchedness and lamentation? Must all persons be immortal, and must no man go abroad, and must we ourselves not go abroad, but remain rooted like plants? And if any of our familiar friends goes abroad, must we sit and weep? And on the contrary, when he returns, must we dance and clap our hands like children? But my mother laments when she does not see me. Why has she not learned these principles? And I do not say this that we should not take care that she may not lament, but I say that we ought not to desire in every way that is what is not our own. And the sorrow of another is another's sorrow, but my sorrow is my own. I will then stop my own sorrow by every means, for it is in my power. And the sorrow of another I will endeavor to stop as far as I can, but I will not attempt to do it by every means. For if I do, I shall be fighting against God, I shall be opposing Zeus, and I shall be placing myself against him in the administration of the universe. And the reward of this fighting against God and of the obedience, not only will the children of my children pay, but I also shall myself, both by day and by night, startled by dreams, perturbed, trembling at every piece of news, and having my tranquillity depending on the letters of others. Some person has arrived from Rome. I only hope there is no harm, but what harm can happen to you where you are not? From Hellas someone has come. I hope that there is no harm. In this way every place may be the cause of misfortune to you. Is it not enough for you to be unfortunate where you are, and must you be so even beyond sea, and by the report of letters? Is this the way in which your affairs are in a state of security? Well then suppose that my friends have died in the places which are far from me. What else have they suffered than that which is the condition of mortals? Or how are you desirous at the same time to live to old age, and at the same time not to see the death of any person whom you love? Know you not that in the course of a long time many and various kinds of things must happen, that a fever shall overpower one, and a robber another, and a third a tyrant? Such is the condition of things around us. Such are those who live with us in the world, cold and heat, and unsuitable ways of living, and journeys by land, and voyages by sea, and winds, and various circumstances which surround us. Destroy one man and banish another, and throw one upon an embassy, another into an army. Sit down then and fluttered in all these things, lamenting unhappy unfortunate, dependent on another, and dependent not on one or two, but on 10,000s upon 10,000s. Did you hear this when you read the philosophers? Did you learn this? Did you not know that human life is a warfare? That one man must keep watch, another must go out as a spy, and a third must fight? And it is not possible that all should be in one place, nor is it better that it should be so. But you, neglecting to do the commands of the general, complain when anything more hard than usual is imposed upon you. And you do not observe what you make an army become as far as it is in your own power, that if all imitate you, no man will dig a trench, no man will put a rampart round, nor keep watch, nor expose himself to danger, but will appear to be useless for the purposes of an army. Again, in a vessel, if you go as a sailor, keep to one place and stick to it. And if you are ordered to climb the mast, refuse. If you run to the head of the ship, refuse. And what master of a ship will endure you? And will he not pitch you overboard as a useless thing, an impediment only and bad example to the other sailors? And so it is here also. Every man's life is a kind of warfare, and it is long and diversified. You must observe the duty of a soldier, and do everything at the nod of the general, if it is possible, divining what his wishes are. For there is no resemblance between that general and this. neither in strength nor in superiority of character. Know you not that a good man does nothing for the sake of appearance, but for the sake of doing right? What advantage is it then to him to have done right? And what advantage is it to a man who writes the name of Dion to write it as he ought? The advantage is to have written it. Is there no reward then? Do you seek a reward for a good man greater than doing what is good and just? At Olympia you wish for nothing more. But it seems to you enough to be crowned at the games. Does it seem to you so small and worthless a thing to be good and happy? For these purposes being introduced by the gods into this city, and it being now your duty to undertake the work of a man, do you still want nurses also and a mamma? And do foolish women by their weeping move you and make you effeminate? Will you thus never cease to be a foolish child? Know you not that he who does the acts of child, the older is, the more ridiculous he is?